Today we've got Lailama back, and she's going to tell us the results of a couple of cool listing optimization case studies that she's done that will help you optimize your listings for 2023. How cool is that? Pretty cool, I think. Do you want to be able to sync your listings that you create in Helium 10 to your Amazon account in one click, including being able to sync subject matter, which you're not able to even edit now in most listings on Amazon? You're going to want to use Helium 10 Listing Builder. Make sure to find out how to use Listing Builder by going to h10.me/listing builder. That's h10.me/listing builder. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Serious Sellers Podcast by Helium 10. I am your host, Bradley Sutton, and this is the show that's a completely BS-free, unscripted, and unrehearsed, organic conversation about serious strategies for serious sellers of any level in the e-commerce world. And we've got my sister from another mister back today on the show, my former coworker here, Lailama. How's it going?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing just delightful. Now, before we get started here, one of the many things Lailama and I have in common is our love for anime. And so let's see if this is kind of like an obscure reference, but do you know what this shirt is? Does this look familiar at all to you?
Naruto, yeah.
Yes, you got it. All right. Ichiraku Ramen, Naruto shirt. Well, now you're back working at AMZ One Step. And so I wanted to reach out to you and to kind of just like see what you've been up to. I mean, even before you worked at Helium 10, you would come on this podcast and give us some cool listing optimization strategies and things like that were of great benefit to the audience. But before I get into that, are you moving with your brother and sister-in-law to Toronto, or just them?
Yeah.
Oh,
the entire
for some reason I thought that they were only moving, but you're moving to that city. That's a big move to go from Edmonton to Toronto.
It is. It's like a 4-hour flight, so it's going to be a big change too. Like
a cultural change, though. Like it's complete.
Yeah,
it's very different, right?
Like New York 2.0.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Do you guys have a place out there already?
Yeah, we're all set. We're packing up, busy moving these days. So yeah.
And like having to leave friends behind and stuff like that, or how's that?
Sad, but we're pretty flexible that way. We came to Canada 7 years ago, so I'm sure I'll be fine.
Now, how does that work for like AMZ One Step though? Because obviously you and Tayaba, your sister-in-law, like who was just on the podcast a few weeks ago, you guys do a lot of work at the studio. I believe you told me you were working at the studio there, doing shoots until like 10 p.m. Like, are you guys opening a new studio in Toronto, or all your work is going to be remote now, or not? What's going on there?
Not as yet. I don't know if we're gonna start like a studio there, but we're gonna have a studio at home, where because I'm making YouTube videos now too, so that's gonna be where I do most of my work, in the studio.
Okay,
so all right. From home, but there's gonna be a studio allocated to it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm sure Saddam will keep you busy. He'll make sure that you're working. That's one thing he does well, right? So that should be no problem. Now, let's talk a little bit about what you've been up to. Like when you went back to AMZ One Step, like are you pretty much doing a lot of the similar stuff that you used to do back before, like make content for them, and then also like manage like photo shoots and things like that, or what kind of stuff have you been working on?
Yeah, so content, YouTube, educational videos, and then also creating commercials for clients. So just again, very listing optimization focused. But on the side, I also have been running case studies to get some extra insights. Like, all the sellers already know what works, what doesn't work, but I really wanted to dig deep into, how the little nuances. Like, for instance, this case study that I recently did was focused on consumer purchasing behavior. And I think, a lot of us know how to optimize for the Amazon algorithm, but I really wanted to see the other side, like what makes people add your product to the cart.
So how did you set this case study up? Like, were you like capturing the screen of how people navigate on the buying pages, or what did this case study involve?
So this video is actually coming out, shameless plug. But what we did was we took a bunch of participants and we gave them like a price range. We didn't want to give an exact dollar value because you don't want to like tilt them in a particular direction either.
Sure.
And we were recording their screens, and at the same time, I'm behind the camera looking at their screens and trying to ask them at every point why they did what they did or what made them go for that. And they were also like voicing their opinions on everything. So it was great. Like, what are people thinking in real time as they're shopping? And there were some really interesting insights. So a lot of the information did confirm things that we already know. For instance, like, I'll actually give you a very interesting thing that I learned from it was, like, we all know that Amazon badges are great. It'll give you the, higher click-through rates because it builds that trust. It'll increase organic traffic, so on and so forth. But once you've piqued the curiosity of your buyer and they click on your listing, what happens after? Do they guarantee that sale? Not really. Like, yeah, you can reach out to the relevant buyers with these badges and it will, because look, we're here as sellers and we're thinking, okay, we're going to do so and so. These are our strategies in order to get that Amazon badge. But for the consumer, like, they don't even know how we got there, how we earned that badge. So they're looking at it and they're like, oh, it's flagged Amazon's choice. Let's see why it is Amazon's choice. Now they're on your listing and they're looking for information that will convince them to buy your product. And so a lot of the times what I noticed with these listings was they've optimized for the algorithm, but not the consumer. Now, what I mean by that is these weren't being added into the cart. So I dug deeper and I'm like, okay, why aren't you left convinced? Like, they kept saying things. A lot of the times it was either things like missing information in the images. So secondary images were, people were trying to look at their competition and almost replicate the same kind of information that they had on their secondary images, which doesn't necessarily mean that consumers want to know that information. So that strategy where we just like copy paste from our competition is not going to cut it. You have to look at the information in your reviews, your Q&A section, what people really want to know about your listing. So missing pieces of information, was a big problem either in the images or in the product description. Sometimes it was too advanced. Sometimes it was too beginner friendly, and people who actually were enthusiastic about a certain category or were experts on the subject matter didn't look for the information that they wanted. So I would say, like, people aren't optimizing for the consumer. We almost lose that sense of like the consumer side of us when we become Amazon
Yep. Yep.
experts.
No, but yeah, I've always said that, people focus too much on the algorithm, which you should focus on the algorithm. You got to be discoverable and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's not the algorithm who's buying the product. It's a human being. And so if you lose that part, then you're in trouble. So what would you say, I don't know, top 5, top 3, what are some interesting things that you discovered from this, analyzing the consumer behavior? Like, what things that you found out that you think that sellers should now take action on, or at least should be thinking about it, as they optimize their listing?
Again, going into the nuances of everything, right? Yeah, people will have nice titles, but what consumers were really looking for was a feature being listed in the title in the beginning or in the first few words. Like, let's say bag with compartment. That was a big one. Like, this person was looking for a bag with compartment, so that's a feature. And then a lot of sellers were also listing the use cases of these features. So, like, bag with compartment for shoes, for laptop, for so and so. That sometimes would really confuse our buyers.
Sure.
They were like, oh, if it says it's used for a laptop, can I not use it for shoes? So I would say, like, sometimes people almost go overboard with stuffing their title with keywords, and that's not necessarily a good idea. A lot of the times, like, whatever is viewable in the mobile experience is all that a customer wants to see. They don't want like a huge list of it, because sometimes it can confuse them as to what they can use the product for. So that was one thing. Another thing that was really interesting was pricing strategy was a big thing here. People were judging based on your prices. So if you were priced way below the market average, people would be like, okay, is it not good enough quality? If you were way higher than the market average, then they were looking for that extra like premium feature that would, make them think that it's worthy of that price range. But then there were products that were, competitively priced, and the ones that were like even a bit higher but discounted, people went for that as opposed to the lower non-discounted prices. So, discounts were playing a huge role in how they were making their decisions. Like they were really drawn onto the listing based on the discounts. And 80% of the people were not even adding coupons onto their carts. So they were drawn into the
Yeah.
listing based on like a
80%.
promotion.
Good grief. That's a lot.
Yeah, but they didn't end up adding it to their cart. So, it's a win-win case for the seller. Like if you're not making use of coupons, then you should 100%. But there's one other thing to notice with the coupon rates is if it's too big of a coupon, like a $5, $10, whatever, it's going to be noticeable in the end price. So people will be like, oh, wait, why isn't it priced the same way? So they'll go back onto the listing and add the coupon. Whereas if it's like $1 to $3, people usually don't even notice it in the final price and, will not even bother going back or notice it actually. So these were the two key things. And then the third one was reviews. A lot of people look at reviews because they're shopping online. So yeah, we don't entirely have control over our reviews, but working towards getting a higher review count. So one thing that was really common among people was they were looking for like 1,000 reviews or higher. And that's when they fully trusted the brand. Anything lower than that, they're like, I don't know. And then they would really focus on the review rating. If it was lower than 4.5, they'd be like, okay, this isn't trustworthy.
Yeah, I don't take any products less than 4.5. I guess I'm a stingy person when it comes to that, but I'm not the only one, I guess.
Yeah, no, a lot of people are like that. But, like you don't really have a lot of control over your reviews. But what you can do is offer customer support. You can, you can improve on the quality of your product. In fact, this happened during the case study. I ordered for them and one of the product came damaged. So that product had no insert. They haven't had an insert, but there was no like contact information or customer support mentioned on the insert. So they came up to me and the participants were like, can you get a replacement for this because it came damaged? And I couldn't find it anywhere, even though on the description section they said, reach out to us if you have any problems with the product. But they had nothing that they could, help us out with because it was out of the return window for Amazon. So, there's like these little things that you can do to avoid negative reviews.
How much did it impact people's choosing things in the search results or even their buying some of those badges? Like, I've always been skeptical a little bit sometimes of how important like a bestseller badge or an Amazon's Choice badge. And it's interesting now in the last like few days, there's newer kinds of Amazon's Choice badges that are coming out. I forgot what it says. It's like Amazon's Pick or it was something weird like that. But anyways, did that have an impactful? Did you see people trust those products more or not because they didn't know where it comes from or what do you think?
So if it came in the first like 5 to 10 results, they were more likely to click on that first. So that was their first pick, which I would say is like a big influence, right? Because they were like, oh, if Amazon, chooses this, or if bestseller, they would say, oh, I guess people are buying this, so it must be good. So I would say it had a major influence on the click-through rates, at least. The rest is up to the seller then.
You also did a case study on titles. What about titles? Amazon titles, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So this was a case study where, we were done on a client's listing and we saw a 93% increase in their sales just by changing their title. And they weren't doing bad.
93% just by changing the title?
Yes. Which was...
Whoa. What do you do? Like make the title ooze gold or something? Like how in the world is that?
So here's the weird thing. We did not change any keywords, okay? Keywords were not touched. We literally restructured it, shortened it, so that it was exactly what fits into the mobile viewing experience. And we removed the brand name. And that's something that's been really working because unless you're a Nike or something, people really aren't looking at your brand name. So you're using the first couple of characters, really important characters, towards the brand name, which people don't even know you yet, right? And we put this unique selling point in the beginning. So, like, it was cutlery. We said it was like this number of items in a pack or something like that. Um, and this is the kind of information people are looking for. So I would say, like, you want to figure out what the unique selling proposition, what the key pieces of information in your product category is, and then put that in the front. Now, a lot of people did ask us, like, we have been suggesting this to some of our clients, and a lot of people are like, oh, but like it's not compliant if we don't put the brand name in there, so on and so forth. People get nervous about it. But
It's actually really interesting right now. It's so stupid because what you just said is right. That Amazon, in their terms of service, wants you to put the brand name at the beginning, but it's been now 3, maybe 4 months on some of our listings where on certain keyword results, Amazon takes out the brand name. Like, you put it at the beginning, and Amazon literally takes it out unless you go on the product page itself. So, like, sometimes that's good because, like, like if you don't have a lot of brand recognition, just like you said, like people don't care about the brand. They want to know what the product is. But then if you're trying to build a brand, or if you're like Nike or something like that, I mean, literally the whole thing about the product is the brand. And if your brand is strong, and now Amazon is just saying, all right, shoes, instead of Nike shoes, it makes all the difference in the world. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, because of that, it kind of, like, to me, at least in my mind, it makes it less likely where Amazon is going to, suspend your listing if you don't put the brand at the beginning. I mean, how could they do that when even they themselves take it out,
Exactly. And another thing is, like, we always split test titles. So if you upload it through manager experiments, it technically has passed that bot test. So you're good. If they've approved it, then you're good.
Have you ever had one where it wasn't approved in the manager experiments?
Not so far.
Okay, well, that probably means you guys are doing the right thing. But that's actually an interesting point. Like, test like some extreme thing in manager experiments to see like what it would approve. Because yeah, I actually just started one the other day, and I was frustrated. I thought I would be able to start right away, but no, I was like, oh no, we got to we have to check this out, and it's going to take a few days. So obviously somebody must be reviewing it or something before it approves. But that's a good point. All right, what else can you talk about titles?
I think, it's what I'm seeing so far is, like, again, what we use here might not work for another niche, but from what I'm seeing is, like, people are preferring going for shorter and shorter titles. Like, a lot of buyers, even confirmed by this case study, were just not attracted to these long titles. They were just like lost in the details. So this was kind of the main point or takeaway from this case study as well, like 2 different case studies now, that people don't want a really long title. While it may be good for like ranking purposes and so on and so forth, but if people are getting confused, ultimately, you don't want to put that in there. And highlighting the feature is really important. Like, I know people do it, but like putting it in the forefront of the title and also highlighting something that's really unique about your product would set you apart.
All right. So, these case studies that you've been working on, talk to me about just like your bread and butter, which is, I don't think you were doing 10 p.m. last night a case study. You're probably doing a photo shoot. So don't tell me about the, I mean, if that product's private, you don't have to tell me the exact thing, but can you I'm just curious about like how photo studios work. Like what was it, an Amazon product you did last night? Like, how did you decide to set it up? And you guys have some, like, I saw on your Instagram story, you were like putting some like Roman statue props or something like that in this photo shoot. So talk to me about what you did last night and just in general. So some recent photo shoots that you've done.
Yeah, we've really been trying to get creative with the photo shoots. Like, the Roman thing was statues and everything. We wanted to do that for like a brand for pants. Now, if you look at most of the
brand, well, how does a brand for pants have to do with Roman statues?
So it was kind of like a fashion shoot, right?
Okay.
Because we wanted to make it unique. Like you look at all these Amazon's basics and they're pretty much the same thing. So I feel like with competitive niches, it's just so hard to stand out. And so your creatives really need to be at another level. Because a lot of people will go for Amazon's basic pants. But how do you set yourself apart? So you need to have like a strong brand presence, and that's what I've been really working on in like videos and photo shoots, as well as you don't want to use the same techniques over and over again.
Sure.
Like it's a candle, so put it on a podium and just do the basic stuff. Is like, how can you as a creative agency give them that unique outlook? And a lot of people talk about like AI taking over, and while I think it's really convenient with all these different softwares where you can create images and everything, it's much easier if you want to do it yourself. But like at some point you're really losing your uniqueness as a brand. And
Yeah.
that's when you're looking at the images. Like this was one of our findings in the case study as well, is they were one of the participants looking for gym gloves. All the images just looked the exact same way, done against a black backdrop, like copy pasted almost, but a little bit of a difference in the design. And then it came down to like the very basic factors, like, okay, review count, review rating, and pricing. So the buyer wasn't able to look past any of those three factors, because everything looked the same and the quality looked the same. So they were
Mhm.
ultimately going to go to those things. So if you don't have the kind of review count that your competitors have, or you're not able to compete on the pricing, then you really need to stand out in other ways.
What are some techniques that you think people should use if they can't, hire AMZ One Step to stay until 10 p.m. at night to do photo shoots? And it's not cheap. Obviously, you're not doing this for $5 an hour. How can people get that effect, from like home? Like I still suggest, hey guys, if you've got the budget, you've got to use professional agents. As a matter of fact, I don't know Saddam told you this, but I just hit him up yesterday because I'm doing like this mini kind of Project X with helping out somebody's supplement brand. And I was like, hey, I'm going to get them to hire AMZ One Step to kind of like refresh their images, potentially do 3D and stuff like that, because, they did their images on their own and it wasn't that great. But maybe I'm just starting out, I don't have a huge budget. I remember you before, you had done a few, Project X products, photo shoots just on your own, even though you had the, full studio. I was like, hey, try and do this on your own to try and imitate what people would have to do if they can't afford a studio. But what are some best practices? Like I can't just go and get a Roman statue to use as a prop. So what are some techniques you can talk to us about?
Yeah, for any small items, like you can just take a picture in good lighting. And then there's so many AI technologies, like even with Canva, let's say they remove your background for you. And then you take that and, use softwares like Flare AI. There's a bunch of others like Midjourney. And what you can do is use that background, that product that now doesn't have a background, and put it onto like another background, whatever goes with your branding. It could be like a candle that's staged on a podium against a silky backdrop or something like that. So for infographics like that, I feel like there's quite a few options. You just get the background removed, put it on something else, and you don't have to buy the props, right? So it saves you on the cost. It may not look as realistic, but yeah, it definitely gets the job done. And yeah, but anything that may require a model, like I've been trying to experiment with that. While these apps do give you like a lot of options, but it doesn't quite have that realistic look. It looks more like, like a fake hand or a fake person. So yeah. But infographic style images, I would say, yeah, like if you don't have the budget 100%, just use one of these AI softwares. You don't need to be an expert. It'll remove the background for you, put it on to another background.
Now I was looking at your YouTube channel here, and I saw this video here. I always like screenshot on funny poses of you. I do this, but So here, it was about creating compelling Amazon listing images. So what I unfortunately did not watch this video. First of all, I always joke like how I think I'm an honorary Hasan, because as soon as I saw this, I remember seeing this thumbnail. I was like, wait a minute, didn't you borrow this blouse from your sister-in-law?
Your attention.
I'm like, how do I know? How do I know your wardrobes even?
I know.
Even. But anyways, so I was too distracted when I saw that. I was like, I couldn't take this video seriously because I was like, wait, this is not Taylor I'm looking at here. But anyways, what was this video about?
Yeah.
This listing images. Can you talk about it?
I basically broke down the different image types, and that's not necessarily the infographic lifestyle, but image categories that I created my own. Like there's a lot of people who want to do comparison to their competitors. There's dimensions, like the basic kind of images that everybody wants to cover. So one of the categories that I talk about is dimensions. And again, this is another thing that we saw in the case study is, to this day, a lot of sellers will put like 3 centimeters long, 4 centimeters wide. Like that doesn't work anymore. Like, and I mean, not that it worked before either. Like people, it's hard for them to visualize, being on the other end. So you need to, I've basically shown people how they could show the scale and dimensions of their products in other ways. So one was an example of a suitcase. What we did was we placed it under a bed frame. So now people know, okay, this is the usual length of the bed frame, and this is how it fits under a bed. So they have like a visual reference of, how to show their dimensions. Yeah, you can add the numbers as well, but this just gives them an extra kind of reference. There was another example of like a mic. You put it next to like a can of pop, and that was like, everybody drinks Coke and Sprite or whatever, and so now they know how big this mic is going to be when it arrives. So just different kinds of product image categories that people can make use of and not have to stick to the regular, like with comparison, people make use of your regular charts. It has this feature, competitor does not, cross. So you just don't want to use these old techniques. They've been overused. So just ways to stand out from the crowd.
How often do you suggest that people refresh their images? I mean, this is not something that people should be, oh yeah, every week change your images. That might mess up your listing. It doesn't give people a consistent feel. But like once a year, should we change a couple? Once every 2 years, once every 6 months? Do you have any suggestions there?
Images and your product title. I think like once or twice even. Like this seller that we changed their title, they were doing perfectly fine. But, my thing is, manager experiments is like an amazing tool. You can just use that and keep experimenting, like keep split testing. You might uncover another opportunity which could give you such a huge boost in sales, right? So I would say like once or twice a year, when you can, just change up your title, or doesn't necessarily mean changing up your keywords, but just like structure it differently. And the great thing about manager experiments is like you're running both titles at the same time. So half the people are shown the original and half the people the other. So you're getting real-time data. And if you lose out, you're losing out on only 50%. So the risk isn't that big. You know what I mean? Same goes with images. It has the capability to split test main images, secondary images, A+. So the second you think, okay, sometimes there are times when your product has a feature that you realize, oh, I haven't highlighted that, and that is something people are looking for, or you got a good or a bad review based on a certain feature. Maybe that is a good time to add that feature into one of your images.
All right, before we get into your 60-second strategy for the week, I referenced your YouTube channel right there that you're definitely giving content. So how can people find you on the interwebs, especially the content that you're putting out for people?
Yeah, it's posted on AMZ One Step's YouTube channel, and I also share it on my LinkedIn, which is Lailama Hasan, my name, if people can spell it.
All right. Now, one interesting thing is like AMZ One Step is part of the wait, what is it called? Seller Solutions Hub. We have too many S's here. We got Serious Sellers this, Serious Sellers that, Seller Solutions, Sell and Scale. We have a lot of going on. But anyways, guys, if you want to just reach out in general to AMZ One Step, sometimes they have discounts for like, elite members on the page. But if you're logged into your Helium 10 account and then you want to see what kind of, bonuses they have, or at least just reach out through the hub, go to hub.helium10.com and then just search for AMZ One Step, and you'll be able to reach out to them that way. Now, what is your 30 or 60-second strategy of the week for everybody?
Yeah, so a lot of sellers can get nervous about like main image strategies, and we give a bunch of those strategies out, right? At the end, you want to increase your click-through rate. So one hack that I have for testing that out, if you're nervous about it, is upload the strategy that, your agency or whoever's come up with versus like a fully compliant image. And, what you want to do is upload it on Manage Your Experiments. And if it gets through the Amazon bots, then you're good to go, and you can upload that image. Actually, it will verify it for you, so it'll automatically upload it for you. Because one thing I want to point out is a lot of people will be like, oh, this is not compliant, but you theoretically 80 to 90% of the main images on Amazon are non-compliant, with including props in let's say a fruit in fruit bowls, or including a model in there, or, adding an extra sticker onto your label. All of these are non-compliant. So this is just a hack that I have if you're worried about it. And plus you get extra insights on which version works better.
Well, it was great to see you at the Prosper Show. Hopefully I can see you guys again soon. I was trying to get you guys to go out to Bali, but with the move and everything, that didn't work out. I know you guys have a villa out there and another studio, but maybe we'll get to work together on this one project that I was talking about for Project X. But regardless, I look forward to seeing you and your brother and your sister and your sister-in-law again. We can all hang out, because I swear I'm just the American member of your family here. But thank you for coming on and sharing your knowledge, and look forward to having you on the podcast maybe next year again.